What is going on in Jujutsu Kaisen right now? We've taken a turn in this battle that I never thought we would have, and it's kind of, infuriating and confusing at the same time. But in order to understand what I'm talking about, we're going to have to go back, cover, and then talk about what happened in the most recent chapter of Jujutsu Kaisen. But believe me, it's something I don't think most people have picked up on yet, and we really do need to talk about it. So it feels like the last few chapters of Jujutsu Kaisen have really progressed quickly. We went from a long-standing battle between Gojo and Sukuna all the way into now a rather quick battle between the remaining defense forces of Jujutsu Kaisen, and then, into our main battle here with Yuta and Yuji versus Sukuna. That's pretty fast. I mean, we were going on like months in the battle between Gojo and Sukuna, and now here we are only within a couple chapters have we shifted between, I don't know, like 3 different plans, so pacing has definitely picked up a little bit here. But in the process of that pacing, this chapter may have inadvertently made some missteps. Now, in order to understand this, we have to pick up where we left off from last week's chapter. We had just entered Yuta's domain. It's revealed that it is mutually assured love or whatever it is. It's unlimited blade works. He gets to copy everyone's power. But it's worse because he can't control which copy he gets. So we also do know that he can imbue an effect into his domain, so it can auto-target people. He gets to choose which one that is. And while right now we know that he's presumably using the angel, or at least that's what everybody thinks, it could be another one. It doesn't really matter right now, though, because Sukuna has been using Hollow Wicker Basket to defend himself this whole time. Now, it's important to understand here that since they knew he'd do that, Yuji also got brought in, and this is the first time we find out that somehow Yuta has made it that he can selectively choose not to target certain people in his domain, in this case being Yuji, and while that is fine, it's worth something to note that I don't think Gojo could do that because he had to keep a hand on Yuji at all times in his domain expansion. So that is maybe a little bit odd, but it's not the primary thing that most people should take away from this chapter. It is rather instead that throughout the course of this battle, as Yuji is punching Sukuna and, according to this translation, trying to rip his soul out of Megumi's body so that he can, it's not exactly explained if that would kill him instantly or separate them into 2 people, or just allow Megumi to suppress him. It is really altogether designed so that they could use, the Angel's technique, Jacob Ladder, to remove the cursed object and presumably destroy it. That's not going so well right now because, like I said, Sukuna is using Hollow Wicker Basket to defend himself. Now, we are given the information on Hollow Wicker Basket that it is essentially a early form of Simple Domain. And because it's an early form of Simple Domain, it should share many of the attributes, albeit maybe a little weaker in some areas or underdeveloped. But there's something big that I think we all missed when we first read through on this, and it's really noticeable when I point it out. But before I do, please be sure to subscribe to the channel so I can keep bringing you more anime content. And the thing that nobody noticed is Sukuna has been moving around the entirety of Yuta's domain. Now, this has not been talked about as far as I'm aware, but if you know any YouTubers that have, go ahead and let me know, because they should definitely get awards for this, because last time I checked with Simple Domain, when you moved your feet, the domain dropped. That was one of its few limitations, was that you had to maintain the same stance. We see it with Miwa all the time, that in order to hold it, you have to be in the same position. This also technically happened to Kusakabe during the Shibuya incident. Sukuna has been bouncing all around. They're making it seem like holding the hand sign might be the important part, or that the chant might be the important part. And while that might be true, it seems weird that technically this would make this proto version of Simple Domain better than the actual one. Even if you couldn't launch an attack from it, it's still better because you can move around. And there's plenty of times you're going to get hit by somebody, even when you're in a domain. So it seems kind of weird to me that this seems to be allowing for something that should be a worse version of a technique because it's an earlier one, is now working better. Of course, there's also the big question of how Yuta ended up getting through this, because he didn't actually hit him with the auto technique. He used him with another one of the katanas, but what he did hit him with was Sukuna's own cutting technique. Somehow. Even though Yuta has, not from anything we've seen, eaten anything of Sukuna's. Unless maybe he ate the last finger? Maybe? But it seems unlikely they would waste that. And it's kind of weird that this seems to be having an effect on Sukuna at all, considering you think if you're immune to any technique at all, it would be your own. but only time will tell where this plan will go. I just wanted to point out the fact that it seems really odd that this specific technique, which is designed to be defensive and didn't work even in an incomplete domain like, Chimera Shadow Garden because of the way Megami was able to outsmart it, Sukuna seems to be doing fine with, even though it's not following the rules of the other defense domain protections that we know. It could also be possible that Wicker Basket works closer to, Falling Cherry Blossom Emotion, but that also seems kind of weird because that worked by funneling, again, in a stance. That's why Naobito lost his arm, because he lost his stance in his fight with Dagon. So both versions of the defense that we see before Hollow Wicker Basket require you to remain in the same place. It just feels incredibly odd to me that Sukuna's not suffering any ramification for being punched all around and actually losing his footing. And if you like this, go ahead and check out my Patreon, because I'm looking forward to bringing you more anime content, and subscribing will really help keep this channel up. Also, if you're looking for more content, go ahead and check out my video on why I think Yuji and Yuta can't actually win this fight.